Welcome back to the Jaguar Wright Uncensored podcast. Welcome one, welcome all. Now, what we're doing for this edition of the Uncensored podcast with Jaguar Wright is we are reviewing the 4 episodes of Sean Combs' The Reckoning, the Netflix documentary that was directed by Alexandra Stapleton and people call Alex. And it was EP'd by Curtis 50 Cents Jackson. Now, one of the things that I find very interesting is that I hear people talk about this documentary and it's like, oh, 50 Cents did this and 50 Cents did that and 50 did this and 50 did that and 50 was so petty and 50 was this and 50 was that, when the only thing that 50 Cents did was lend his name to the project as an executive producer. If you look through the credits, you don't see him listed as a director or an assistant director, or, he's not even giving commentary in this thing, which is funny because he has such an extensive history with Diddy himself. Like, that was one of the things that I did not understand. How do you attach your name to this documentary, and with the exclusive history that you have with the diddler, you don't give any commentary at all? Why not? That just seems so bizarre to me. Like, they share Daphne Joy. Daphne Joy is the mother of his younger son. This kid isn't even a teenager yet. And people keep talking about it. They keep, 50 did this because of everything that Diddy did and what he must have done and what he could have did to his son and what he must have done around his son. And that's why 50 did this because, if your baby mom want to do whatever she want to do, that's fine. But what about his kid? The child has absolutely nothing to do with this. Absolutely nothing to do with it. And, before people start running around trying to make angels out of people that aren't, you should really remember people's history. Like, quick little fact, and just so everyone knows, can I appreciate this documentary being out here? Absolutely. And I can still question the motive behind why it's out here. Both things can be true at the same time. But people like to create narratives. And they necessarily don't always have anything to do with the truth. I mean, that's the one thing that Diddy kept talking about throughout this documentary, and that footage that he filmed of himself preparing to fix his own trial. Like, that was just wild. That was wild. But it goes to show you exactly the level of narcissism that Puffy is playing on is like, it's on a whole nother level. It's on a whole nother level. He's filming himself talking to his lawyers. He's filming himself complaining about his legal troubles as if he's done absolutely nothing wrong. He's literally going back and forth with his lawyers about how to prepare to fix his trial, to change his perception in the public eye, to be able to influence the jury pool long before the trial was even announced. This was before he was even arrested. Like, this dude was on a mission, and a good share of it had to do with that Cassie video. Good share of it. That Cassie video was damaging. It was going to be damaging. And they spent the better part of almost a year finding a way to invalidate that video in every way possible. They did everything that they possibly could do. I mean, they had, and I'm not saying alleged because they pretty much confirmed it with his own footage in this documentary. They bought a team of media hitmen to destroy and whittle away at Cassie's character to the point where it didn't matter who was sitting on that jury. None of them would see a victim. They would all see a spoiled, lucky little brat who refused to leave a domestic violence situation because she enjoyed being beaten on. She enjoyed being ran through by a bunch of weirdo sex workers. She enjoyed all of that, and she liked the glamorous, luxurious life. Like, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. You know, I don't know how many content creators I heard sitting there talking about how how dare she cheated on Puff with the trainer, and she ran off from him and she left him, and the only reason she sued him is because she wanted some money and she wanted to get money out of him, as if she's not damaged at all. Like, she was taking Suboxone to detox from all of the stuff that was inside of her when she was preparing to give birth to her first child. Like, I find it weird how inhumane American society has become. Like, I just like how tragically desensitized we are when we're watching hell happen right in front of our eyes, and then we just, shrug it all off. But I digress. Like I said, there was a lot that I was expecting to see in this documentary that I didn't see. Curtis should have answered a few questions. He should have said a few things. But then again, if what you're doing is putting together a piece to sanitize exactly how dirty the industry is and find a way to make it just all about Diddy and nothing else but Diddy, and I think they did an amazing job. Like, if this documentary is what I think it is, about saving the reputation of the industry, which, by the way, Curtis Jackson, he said as much on his interview on ABC. He said his reason for doing this is because he didn't want the public to believe that hip hop was okay with the behavior of Diddy. He didn't want the world to think that because everyone was silent and nobody said anything. Nobody said anything after he was arrested. Nobody said anything leading up to the trial. Nobody said anything during the trial. You had people who, tucked their tails and ran away and tried to pretend like they weren't all down with the diddler and his devil plan. And then you had people who were trying to pretend as though, nobody else was doing this stuff. It was just Diddy. We're all nice. We're all good. Please come to our shows and buy all of our merchandise and and please stream our music. Like, it's not us, it's him. That's the one thing that I will say I think they tried to do an excellent job of at pointing the finger of blame and shame and debauchery straight at the diddler. Yeah. So, anyway, what they did do, though, and I think they did a masterful job of it in episode 2, what goes down must come up. Inflaming all of us with the story of the demise of Tupac and Biggie. I mean, most of episode 2 was really about fanning the flames. I mean, they did some highlights, and they talked about how Bad Boy blew up, and just they talked about the acts. They Total got an honorable mention. I'm not sure if 112 got an honorable mention. Um, you know, they got Mark Curry, doing commentary, and you got Mace, and it was, like I said, it was very interesting the way they lined this whole thing up. So, like I said, it was the honorable mentions, bringing up all of the really nasty little bits. They really didn't talk about Faith that much either. It was in episode 2 where they acknowledged. Now, she was the first lady of Bad Boy. And yet, they really didn't put a lot into her. You would think, considering what Puffy did to make Mary J. Blige everything that he made Mary J. Blige, that he would have done at least the same for Faith, if not more. She was on his label. But it was almost as if Faith was just a figure. She was there. She was also Big's wife. I think everybody tends to forget they didn't even know each other 3 weeks by the time they had gotten married. And by the time she got pregnant, CJ, they were already broken up. Like, it was a very, very quick relationship. She never really had to worry about getting divorced. She became a widow. But from her and the alleged affair with Pac, and I'm going to say alleged because Faith still denies it to this day. Pac said it was true. Everybody at Death Row said it was true. People remember her and Pac messing around, but she says it's not true, and we'll leave it at that. Let you believe what you want to believe. But episode 2, they focused a lot on the stressors. The quad shooting, the whispers, the rumors regarding, who did it, who's responsible. Biggie making that record, Who Shot Ya, which was taken out of context on so many different levels. But there was so much more that was finally exposed in episode 2 that a lot of people weren't talking about. About the fact that this wasn't an East Coast, West Coast thing. This was a Suge and Puffy thing. This was 2 egomaniacs squaring off with one another. This is also around the same time, the Source Awards. When all of that happened, and it was it was right on the East Coast. New York City. They pulled up clips from that, and Suge coming on stage telling everybody, if you don't want an egomaniac running your business and dancing all in your videos and acting crazy and trying to make himself famous, come to Death Row. And even Faith sitting there on stage with Puffy when he came to say, I'm the CEO that's being talked about, and all this East Coast, West Coast, whoopty-whoopty-woo, and we need to get off of that, and congratulations to everybody from everywhere that I'm running for mayor bullshit attitude. And you could even see it in Faith's eyes how scared she was. You could see the fear. You could see it right there, all over. Hmm. Man, episode 2, what goes up must come. I'm sorry, what goes down must come up. It was designed to trigger everyone who's watching it. People keep forgetting about the fact that there was that rape case that was put on Pac that he was found guilty of. He had to go to jail, and this was after the shooting. Like, it was like one thing after another. Meanwhile, Pac was killing it. Somehow, he still managed to be killing it as an artist with all of that crazy shit going on. How resilient he was. But there was another instance that came up as well. And this had nothing to do with Pac or Biggie. It was between Suge and Puffy and Suge's friend Jake. They were out one night at a place where Mark Curry said he was bouncing, and when they came outside, someone walked up on Suge's friend and unloaded 5 bullets into his body, staring at Suge the whole time. And, he said that Suge grabbed Puffy and used him as a body shield, and nothing was right between them. Puffy was also running behind Suge, trying to steal one of Suge's girlfriends away from him, this girl he was dealing with in Atlanta. And it's like, you always hear about him running after somebody else's girl. Now, Eric Sermon says that they were no longer in a relationship, but the way he chased after Misa because she was with Eric, the way he chased after Kim because she was with I'll Be Sure, the way he chased after this girl because she was with Suge. It's like he had to find a way to just be where someone else was. You could tell, because if he was jealous of a man, he had to get his woman. It's crazy. Like, super egomaniac, narcissist, sociopath, weirdo. I tell you, when you just look at the amount of chaos that happened in 2.5 to 3 years, from 1994 to 1997, just unbelievable. Just unbelievable. Huh. When Pac came out of jail, he went full throttle. I hit him up without a doubt. One of his hardest hitting tracks, and everyone loved it. It did not matter if you were East Coast, if you were West Coast, everyone loved I Hit Him Up. Everyone. Meanwhile, Bad Boy was getting some number ones on the chart. Flavor in Your Ear, it was king. The remix made it live even longer. And that was the end of Craig Mack. It was all about Biggie after that. Sitting, looking at the documentary, and I was looking at one of the Billboard charts, and Flavor in Your Ear, number 1, last week at number 1. Juicy, sitting at number 3. Last week, sitting at number 2. Like, everything bounced off of Flavor in Your Ear. But whatever the case may be, it was all about Bad Boy. Bad Boy was competing with Death Row. They just weren't making the amount of money that Death Row was making. Death Row was established. had it going on. That rivalry, that fake rivalry, sold a lot of records, created a lot of interest. But nobody knows how to benefit from a tragedy better than Puffy. Man, he knows how to milk that thing for everything it's worth. And hey, Death Row got to benefit first. Now, about midway through episode 2, they get to the murder of Tupac Shakur. They bring in Keefe D. They got Pac's cousin talking all through this. Of course, his brother Mo Preem can't say anything because he's being represented by Quinn Emanuel on behalf of Jay-Z to make sure that Mo Preem don't do no interviews, don't remember no nothing, don't say no nothing. Like it's really weird. The second that Puffy gets locked up, all of a sudden Jay-Z's becoming a philanthropist and getting Mo Preem, who he's never acknowledged, his lawyer, pro bono, to represent his best interest in getting to the bottom of what happened to his brother. Meanwhile, Jay-Z and Puffy were the best of friends up until December of last year when they broke up via PowerPoint. I swear to God, people be missing all kinds of things. Like I said, there was so much that was kept out of this documentary, but the stuff that was put in, it was brilliant, honestly. It was done to intentionally remind people of all of the wreckage, of all of the hurt, all the pain, all the harm. It was done intentionally to destroy people, to bring people back to that low vibrational place. So guess what? See, it's Diddy. It's Diddy. He did it all. He did it all. You forget all about all of the other people who stood to gain and who were in the peripheral right there around all of this. The MC that benefited the most off of Biggie and Tupac dying was Jay-Z, not even Nas. And he deserved to get that number one spot as the surviving. But I don't know, maybe Nas had survivor's remorse. I also know he had a bit of a breakdown there, which people were saying he was only grieving, but that's not how I remember it. And everybody that was around remembered that boy lost his mind. But, we'll say allegedly and call it a day. Some of us believe that maybe somebody helped him get to that lose his mind status. But once again, like there was so much of what they were talking about in all of this that was cut out. That wasn't even, but then again, this wasn't about hip hop. This was about Puffy. And this was giving hip hop a pass. See? Very clever. Very clever. From the way they introduced Puffy's connection to the Crips on the West Coast. The simple fact that Suge was a blood. Like, Suge was such a blood that Suge literally went to the radio station in Leimert Park, LA, KBLA, and said, y'all playing too many Crip records. Like, that's how much Suge couldn't stand Crip. So the simple fact that Zip was Diddy's connection to the Mansfield Crips, to the Crips, whoa. And the fact that they were the ones riding around with them as friends, not as security, but as friends. Yeah. There's just a lot wrong with that. Whole lot wrong with that. I mean, there's some never before seen, you know, I wouldn't tell anybody not to watch this series. My whole purpose for doing commentary on it is so you don't miss everything that they hid. And they hid a lot. Once again, just like Puffy said, it's all a movie. All you have to do is create the subtitles so people know what to think. If you ask me, episode 2, what goes down must come up, is nothing more than a bunch of triggering memories to create enough anger with the finger aimed at Diddy, so everything else that you see after that makes you want to blame him for everything that went wrong in hip-hop. Now, don't get me wrong. Diddy is responsible for a good share of things that went wrong in hip-hop. He didn't do it all alone. And he wasn't the only person to benefit. But he benefited. And episode 2, make sure you don't forget exactly how much he benefited. That I'll Be Missing You record with Sting. The fact that when he got the cover of Rolling Stone, it was supposed to be Biggie's. Kurt Burrows highlighting how that huge funeral that was thrown for him was paid for out of his own recording budget, which means all of that was recouped, which means Biggie's fans paid for his funeral, not his so-called best friend, Puffy. Like all of it, he just straight energy harvested all of it. And I mean, by the time Big died, all of hip-hop was still reeling over, trying to get over Tupac dying. So Tupac died, and then 6 months later, 7 months, Biggie's gone. Two of the most important figures in hip-hop at that time. And Big only had 2 albums. Pac got a little more work done than him. But man, oh man, all of that energy, all those tears, all of that sorrow, Puff monetized all the way. That is the one thing that this documentary really highlighted, how he monetized tragedy. I tell you, episode 2, it will it'll piss you off. It'll piss you off. It'll make you look at Diddy. It'll make you think about that trial. And then they tee it up for the newer victims. They tee it up for Cassie. They tee it up for Aubrey. They tee it up, for all of that. They bring in, Kalina from Diddy Dirty Money. They bring in Babs from the band. Like, they do. Oh man, it's really crappy. Like I'm telling you, there is so much. Like the simple fact that Mace isn't even really mentioned in any of this when he was there. Like the simple fact, like it all of this was orchestrated very well. Very well. But like I said, it was all done to clean up hip hop's image and take the entire wreckage and all of the debauchery and all of the pain and all of the trauma and dump it on Diddy. He's the new R. Kelly. I mean, let's just be honest. That's exactly what this series is. It's the new Surviving R. Kelly. They should have just called it Surviving Diddy. They should have. They really should have. But, The Reckoning, I guess that's a good title too. So in close, episode 2 was a gas stove, and they just struck the match. I mean, just all of it. So consider yourself warned when you go to watch it. You're going to be pissed off. And that was engineered. It was engineered, especially even the way they kept flashing that he was charged with RICO, that he was charged with sex trafficking and violations of the Mann Act. And all he got was 50 months. All he was convicted of was the Mann Act. The RICO didn't stick. Sex trafficking didn't stick. They kept flashing that at the beginning and end of every episode, And honestly, I think part of the reason why they did that was so you could look at all of the things they were pointing out and say, that's some bullshit, man. That's all he got. It's really to trigger you. Like it really is. It really is. So yeah, that's all I got, because anything else, you might as well not watch it at all. But episode 2, what goes down must come up. I mean, I guess that's just physics, isn't it? So I'm Jaguar Wright. This is the Jaguar Wright Uncensored podcast. This is my uncensored commentary on Sean Combs' The Reckoning, episode 2. And we'll see you back here on the JW Uncensored podcast for episode 3. Man, that's going to be interesting. All right, peace, y'all.